Hello everyone, Siege Link here, back with yet another Company of Heroes 2 replay. I've been on a weird winning streak. I've won either 2 games in a row, I think 3 games in a row. I think all 3 of the videos I've uploaded so far have been wins, and those have all been my most recent games, which is kind of mind-boggling how successful I've been today. So before we get into anything else, I want to be very clear. Warpath, Sherman Firefly gains 4% increased armor penetration. Keep a close eye on that, because that actually ends up being his downfall this game. He also has a little bit better infantry and much better machine guns. 10% faster reload. It doesn't actually show him loading at all, which was weird there. I didn't actually remember that. Yeah, this game was probably the closest I've had, at least initially, compared to the other two, and probably in terms of territory as well. So I go for an immediate machine gun again. And something I didn't actually realize that this actually doesn't connect up to here. You have to take this in order to... This goes all the way up here. And that I'm okay with, but that going all the way up here I feel is odd. I feel like if you... Like, these should directly connect to each other. Like, if you want to cut this off and you have this... You know, it's I guess it wouldn't really matter too much, but I feel like that just makes more sense. Because, yeah, this area here doesn't count over here, which is kind of weird. So I go for the usual machine gun into Grenadier. He goes immediately for a universal carrier, which I didn't actually know this, but universal carriers don't require any gas, which I think is the only vehicle in the entire game which doesn't require any gas, which is kind of odd. I mean, it is pretty weak, so I understand it, but I would kind of prefer it to be like maybe 10 gas and like 200 or like 150, so like make it very cheap manpower-wise, but then make it cost gas. And then in exchange, make it so this doesn't cost gas to get, or make it cost like ammunitions to get, because this requiring gas doesn't make sense to me. Or at least make it like 5 gas or something. The Universal Carrier, I think, is actually the weakest vehicle overall in the game, which would make sense considering that it costs no gas. And it costs about as much as one infantry does. I mean, it costs the same as a machine gun squad, and it's basically a mobile machine gun. Except it can't pin down enemies. And I'm also not certain if it can actually have another crew in with it. It can actually, okay. Only one, but that 2 would definitely not fit in there, to say the least. Yeah, it looks like just enough space for 1. Makes sense. Yeah, it's machine gun versus machine gun here. His retreated. Engineers are taking the left side. And he's got this infantry section taken right. I think I'm gonna adjust this mic a bit. Let's try that. Yeah, it hasn't really done too much with that universal carrier, and I'm getting infantry quicker than he is. It's 4 to 5 units right now. Just a tiny bit more time to get that 3rd grenadier. We have a fresh grenadier squad. And this is kind of how it goes on Crossroads, which is that from the start it basically just cuts itself in half, and the game is usually dictated by who, you know, has these 2 territories. If both people have these 2 territories, that usually means they're ahead on territories. So I was constantly clicking the Faust here, and it was just never working, which was really annoying for me. This is something I find very inconsistent, the Faust. Got a machine gun here. He has a machine gun emplacement here. I also don't know why his units are all the way back here. That seems like a bit of a glitch. Yeah, he had Royal Engineers here, and he didn't actually repair this Universal Carrier, so I actually just Fausted it, and it immediately died. Like, he literally walked out the Royal Engineers and the Universal Carrier at the same time, when the Universal Carrier had no health. He could have easily just stayed back and repaired that, but he didn't. And I was running right into machine gun fire, trying to flamethrower it, put on fire. And even though it did do a pretty good job in that, I had 2 guys behind and obliterated that squad. And I've taken out so much infantry, I'm even able to capture this one, which is right outside of his base. And one of the things I do like about this map is that none of these machine gun emplacements actually reach the points, but they go just before the points. So if you go any further, you'll get shot, but you can still take the points. In some maps, like Furmanville Approach, you can't even take some of the points because of the bunkers. And here I've got 2 guys coming in, even bringing a 3rd over here. Keep my machine gun true here. I didn't even realize how low it was. Once I did, I started retreating it. And then I go for the basic half-track. I just call it half-track, but there's a lot of different variations of half-track. I don't really know exactly what to call this other than, I guess, SD. But yeah, with the Universal Carrier done, this is basically like, I guess, a slightly better Universal Carrier. It's kind of like the German version of it. Very weak, but you can get it very early, and it's quite nice. I think it costs like 30 gas. 20, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, 20 gas and 210. So a decent chunk more expensive than the Universal Carrier, but also a decent chunk more powerful overall, I would say. Desperately was getting that machine gun in there. Also got the machine gun in here. Basically just to take control of the middle, even though he still didn't have the VP of it. He's got this. And he didn't actually get the armored car. In fact, I don't think he actually got anything except engineers. Yeah, for the most part, I've outnumbered him this game. But once I saw that both of these had machine guns in them, I wanted to prioritize. I kind of wanted to get out like a scout car or a half track. But once I saw that he had a machine gun in both, I knew he was going heavy on the machine guns, so I wanted to get a mortar team out. Then I'm immediately going to get some medics going. And I've had double gas cap for quite a good chunk of this game, which you'll see later on. I've got a lot more vehicles than him. And here, I don't even think he didn't even capture it. He just was swapping these guys so that this one had more health and was closer to me. He didn't even capture the middle VP, which was very poor on his part because he's triple capped right now. In fact, he went to capture these. Especially when I've got a guy here. Now, I did have 2 guys coming in here, so, I mean, I'm right next to his base, so I don't expect to be able to take this comfortably. But, I mean, I've got triple VP, and even if you have triple VP for, like, a minute, that itself is, like, game-breaking. Because the VPs just go down so rapidly. So there it went down by 3. And there it went down by 3 after, like, 5 seconds. So about 5 seconds, 6 VPs down. And he's taken everything here except for the VP, which is kind of more important at this point. And if I would prioritize one, I would probably prioritize just getting the gas. Because even though it's not directly connected, because that's one of the reasons he's taken these is so they're directly connected and he can get the resources. But honestly, just preventing me from getting double gas, I think is one of the more important things right now. That or the VPs. Does have an anti-tank gun coming. What I didn't know is that this was actually in range, which was kind of amazing to me. I didn't think it was anywhere close. I thought it was just out of range, but it's, as you can see, barely within range. Then there's an anti-tank gun, so I bring the half-track back, and I've got 3 guys here. And fun little fact, I actually shoot a grenade here. But with these guys behind, they actually killed it just quick enough to the point where I didn't need the grenade. Yeah, it's 3 infantry to 2. At every fight, I was just outnumbering him overall. And eventually this machine gun just got 2 damage from the mortar. And another thing is that I'm not just here to stop the machine guns from using them. I also just want to destroy these buildings. Because it's not just machine guns in buildings, it's pretty much anything in buildings I just dislike. Like, it's so annoying to deal with them and kind of unnecessary. I'd prefer to just run around, use snipers and stuff like that rather than have just a million machine guns just control the map. I actually got kind of lucky here. This guy was really damaged, but both these guys were really damaged, and I ended up barely winning the fight. and escaping. Getting the anti-tank gun out of there. But my machine gun was set up before his was. And I have more guys, so I was able to win it, even though he had a Veterancy 2-1. And does that end up dying? It does not. I didn't think so. If I actually kept that there, I might have been able to kill that, but my guy might have died to these commandos. And then I knew that these guys were taking this, so I decided let them take the territory, make them think that I'm not near here, and then just set up a machine gun. They're just gonna run into it and be forced to retreat, and that's exactly what happened. Weren't able to take the VP, so I still have at least 2 VPs, and then I can get the gas back to get a double cap again. Now, I'm not sure if it happened yet, but I lost like 2 grenadiers to the fact that they grabbed a machine gun and an anti-tank gun and they like immediately died. I think it might have been that moment there. I grabbed the anti-tank gun, it survived, but I think I grabbed a machine gun that I couldn't see and actually lost it. Either that or it's a little bit later. Because you basically have to have a full squad in order to take something and still have the unit. But I thought if you had a little bit, like 90% of a squad, it would still work. Apparently it doesn't. And here, even though I had a machine gun set up, I went for a rifle grenade and he had 2 guys stacked up real bad here. And I had a mortar set up here. And I bring the half track here so I don't have to retreat the grenadiers all the way. And eventually ends up retreating with those guys. I don't even need this anti-tank gun in this game. It pretty much didn't do anything, but it was nice. And I've got this to cover pretty much everything except this back area here. Then I end up moving it up to here, which covers all of this. And take a look at the fog of war. Because of the mortar here and the machine gun, like the machine gun can't get hit from this side unless I retreat the mortar first, and then I can retreat the machine gun. And if something comes around like here, then I can retreat both of them as well. I kept this guy alive for pretty much the whole game. One thing I really should start doing is putting an infantry section in there. I keep forgetting because it's so small that you can actually put infantry in there. Because what you can do is you can run around and you can't capture areas with vehicles, but if you have an infantry squad in them, you can. And that's actually really good. The reason I don't do that is because I'm not certain of this, but I'm pretty sure if you have an infantry in there, like all the units will die, which is why I don't like to do it, because I often will lose vehicles. Like, I either keep vehicles alive for a while or I like lose them immediately. So I don't want to lose like 2 units immediately. But I think I'm probably going to put, sometimes I do like going for double engineer, so I think I might go for just put an engineer in there so I can take them out and then repair whenever I need to. But not only that, I'll usually zoom back to base, and then if I need to build something, I can do that. Yeah, I was able to get a Panzer IV pretty quickly this game. 12-minute mark with the double gas cap for the whole game. And he had this, which was a land mattress. Rocket artillery is like the one thing I really dislike in this game, because of the long range thing I mentioned in my previous videos, but he did not use it well in this game. Let's just say that. Not to mention, he honestly shouldn't have even gone for it. He should have just waited to get a tank. Because he did get a command post, but he didn't get any of these, which was honestly really just not a good choice.
Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of our points.
So I didn't actually know initially exactly what this was, but I didn't think it was good. So it's like a flare that sort of, it's like this area is about to be targeted by artillery. And I didn't actually realize, but it's actually the home artillery. When I originally looked at it, I was like, why is there artillery there? They don't actually do anything, do they? But it wouldn't make sense if they didn't do anything, but they do. And I think that's the difference between these. A lot of the time I get confused with, like, what's the difference between these symbols, because they're both the same unit. It's, I think you can upgrade them sort of like a different path. I don't know exactly how to do it, because I don't play British that much. But I actually think I might want to play British, because I like kind of how they play, where you get engineers a little later, and you just start with infantry and machine guns. Because I don't like having engineers immediately, because they're just weaker infantry, and like their abilities aren't really helpful. because you don't actually need them to build anything, whereas some of the other factions do need to use engineers in that regard. And the only thing that you can repair with them is the universal carrier, which doesn't cost any gas and it's pretty weak. So, I mean, you don't really need to repair it. If it dies, then it dies, honestly. You have another Panzer. I wanted to keep this hidden for a while to see if he ended up getting a tank. Just a surprise tank. Because a lot of the time, people always get tanks, even when it seems like they have no gas. I mean, he could have gotten a Centaur here. And this is actually the big thing. You can see it's the 14-minute mark, and he has enough gas. He could have gotten that pretty much at the 14-minute mark, or at least started to get it. And he didn't get any of these tanks this game. He waited till he got the Firefly, because of that advantage, I think, early. And on top of that, he spent some gas, 4-day gas on this, which, spoiler alert, just ended up dying instantly. And it was just a bunch of wasted gas. Not only that, but this costs 145, and he was building up to that, and he was at 113. So he could have gotten either of these. Didn't. Wanted to wait for this, but he was waiting for it, but then he ended up just getting one of these. Then he lost it, and then he had to wait even longer to get it. So basically, he got a tank around like the 20-minute mark when he could have gotten it at like the 14-minute mark. So he just delayed his tanks massively to the point where I had 2 Panzers. And I actually could have even gotten a third, but I was like, you know what? One of the few ways that I always lose games is for my opponent to have like max tier units, and for me to still be on tier 3. So if I have a huge lead, I'm not gonna build like a 5th Panzer or anything. I'm gonna build, you know, the final tier. And get, you know, Panthers, for example. I still got this half-track at Veterancy 2, in fact. He has a machine gun here, and I think this Grenadier ended up dying. I forgot about it. But I didn't really care too much. I was getting this Commando down. I think these mines I planted, and those are regular mines, I think. Finally got some gas going. He really needed that. Because that's another thing, is that he waited so long to get his like best tank, or quote-unquote best tank, that he was losing so much in the process. And because he didn't have any gas, waiting just allowed me to get, you know, just vastly outnumber him in terms of tanks. So I really wanted to kill that machine gun with Panzer, so I did it. Started building. I was really happy with myself with that. So I decided to run back. But he desperately wanted to kill that Panzer, so he actually brought his anti-tank gun all the way up. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, yeah, he really wants that Panzer, doesn't he? So I had some guys coming in from the back over here. And I just really retreated my Panzer as far back as I could, and just desperately wanted to keep it alive. And if I could get the anti-tank killed, which was easy because he put it so deep in territory. I mean, he was basically trying to sacrifice it to get Panzer, but it didn't end up working out for him. Didn't get the engineers that are veteran 3, amazingly. But keep the Panzer alive. Got 2 Panzers and a half-track. And yeah, he's got 26 gas here, so he actually could have gotten like a Sherman around the time he got this. But he didn't. Instead, he got this and puts it right here, which is semi-close to his base. But the thing is, he has so little infantry, and 2 of it's at his base, to the point where he uses this once he has vision of this area. But I'm actually retreating, and not only that, most of the things didn't even work because they hit this building. So he's retreating with all of his guys. So he has all of his guys at his base. He hits this, so a bunch of these didn't even do anything. And then I just come with my Panzer and kill it. And I've got a Grenadier coming. Just to, like, confirm that it's gonna die. And yeah, his units aren't even healed either.
The enemy have killed the land mattress crew.
So this is a bit of a stupid choice on my part. I have a Veterancy 2 Grenadier. I decided to grab that just so he could get it, and I want to retreat with it, but his guys immediately came away. And I I was focusing more on the half-track that just came in and healing these guys up, because I had quite a few damaged guys, and didn't look down here. So yeah, I lost the Grenadier and the land mattress. So he was able to grab that back. But, I mean, even then, it didn't really matter too much for me. He spent 40 gas on it, he's still nowhere close to a Sherman, and I even got a half-track instead of an extra Panzer. Because, honestly, he's just been on infantry this whole game, and the flame projectors just obliterate infantry. Might even be better, at least in my perspective, it's better than the Panzers, especially if they're not using Fausts or any sort of anti-tank guns. If they're not doing that, then the flame projectors do even better than Panzers when it comes to roasting infantry. And because I have 2 Panzers, I'm like, you know what? You come out with any tank, no tank you can get at this point in a timely fashion is going to be better than 2 Panzers. Not to mention, even with that half-track, I still could have gotten a 3rd Panzer. Yeah, because it costs... In fact, I think I was starting to recruit some things. I think one of them might even been a Panzer. I was like, I can get another Panzer. I was like, you know what? Now, let me get some more infantry. Because I only have 1 Grenadier. I think what I was doing here was I was looking for the Panzer Grenadiers, but I couldn't find them. I thought that they were in here, and I looked through all the buildings, couldn't find them anywhere. But they were here. Just more tank policy. Yeah, he's not using this guy at all. He's got some good veterancy, but he's not able to heal at all. He doesn't have much manpower. And even though it's half and half for the most part, I've had this area for a lot of the game. And he's stuck at his base, despite having a lot more territory. And I'm just kind of chilling outside of his base, just seeing where, just preventing him from going anywhere. Now, I didn't actually realize that I didn't have this VP, because I was like, wait, why are these going down? Oh, I only have 1 VP. So, because this guy was in here for a while, but then I came out to get the VP just so it would slowly start going down. Yeah, I didn't know that he had all of his units in his base, so I didn't want to overextend too much. Because I didn't actually have, like, any real infantry. I had 1 engineer squad and 1 grenadier, both of which were at my base. But yeah, I wanted this, so if he got any super powerful tank, I could get a Panzer, I could get a Brummbär, or even a rocket launcher. And he went for the Firefly, which he had this for, but that itself is not enough to go for this, because I had 2 Panzers, and like I said, I've got 178 gas, so I easily could have gotten another, but I was just going to wait for a Panther, honestly. 1v1 Panther could easily beat this guy, but 2 Panzers would be able to beat him even easier. But he goes on a full-on attack. I don't actually have much here, because I've got machine guns just holding different parts. That got destroyed, I think, by this. And I've got a machine gun here and a half-track to cover this side. Did I plant a mine there? Because I do not remember doing that. Yeah, I've got a Panzer here, and I actually am kind of outnumbered. So yeah, I ended up losing the infantry, but I got 2 Grenadiers. And actually a 3rd one. I just recruited a bunch of Grenadiers at the end. He extended a bit far there. And I knew that if I won this fight here, as long as I take out this tank, I pretty much would win it. This guy has engine damage, so because this guy had engine damage, I couldn't really fight with him. And that very easily could have came down to the last shot. He might have been able to kill my guy, and I might not have been able to kill him. But I got the first shot off, and once he saw that, he ended up dying. He ended up losing. Now, he's looking here at the end, sees that, and is like, yeah, I can't do that. But what he actually wasn't looking at was this. I had a half-track that he didn't know I had for like the entire game, and it was just obliterating his commando. So he was going to lose this, almost certainly lose this, and all he would have been this. To 2 Panzers, a half-track, 3 Grenadiers, a machine gun, and a mortar, with 484 to 129. So despite him having more territory on average than most of my other guys, he just waited so long to get the tank, and then the second he got the tank, he just conceded. I mean, why are you going to concede the second you get a tank when you waited so long for it, you know? Like, I had 2 Panzers. Like, I could have even gotten a 3rd one. Like, it's the 23-minute mark, and I could have easily had 3 Panzers, given the fact that I had double gas for most of the game. So him waiting on that, I think, was sort of a fault. He had to get a tank out a lot quicker. He could have gotten a tank out a lot quicker, and that could have kept him in the game. But that is now the third win in a row, and on top of that, it's versus the UK. The first win I had was versus Soviet, second win versus the US, and then the third win, this one, versus the UK. So I've won one time versus each allied faction. And pretty well on each of them. So, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next replay. Oh, this might be glitching out a bit.